We draft year round, whether it's mock drafts, best ball drafts, dynasty, whatever. Sometimes you find yourself taking the same players over and over again. These are 6 running backs we just can't stop drafting, but we're going to tell you why.
If you can't wait to start drafting fantasy football teams, you don't have to. Underdog Fantasy has drafts with entry fees as low as $4 and prize pools up to $15 million. And of course, their flagship Best Ball Mania 5, where someone will win over $1 million. Plus, if you sign up and use promo code ENDGAME, you'll get a special pick that you can use to potentially win 325 times your entry. And you're going to get up to $250 in bonus cash. Don't wait. Go join Underdog Fantasy now and use promo code ENDGAME to get your special pick and cash.
All right, let's start with the early rounds. And there's a workhorse back who I guess you're convinced is still going to be a workhorse back this year.
Yeah, I couldn't stop drafting Kyren Williams when he was going in the middle of the second round, but we just did a best ball draft on Sunday, and his ADP has fallen to the middle of the third round, and I have no idea why. He is being drafted after Devon Achane now. He was better than Devon Achane last year, and he was actually a workhorse running back last year, and he's going to be a workhorse again. Are people just this terrified of Blake Corum? I'm not. If you look at Sean McVay's history, he is a one running back guy. Go back with Todd Gurley. Even when Todd Gurley was dealing with his knee issues, he kept giving the rock to Todd Gurley. Then what did we see? Darrell Henderson, who's not even in the league anymore, was a workhorse running back. Sony Michel, when Darrell Henderson got hurt, who's not even in the league anymore, was a workhorse running back. He wanted Cam Akers to be a workhorse running back. In the Super Bowl, Cam Akers was killing the Rams, and he kept him as a workhorse running back. Last year, Kyren Williams, workhorse running back. The only way Blake Corum is going to be the guy in LA is if A, Kyren Williams gets hurt, which certainly that's a possibility for any running back, or B, if Kyren Williams is so bad that Sean McVay has no choice to give Blake Corum the ball. And there's nothing we saw last year that should make you think Kyren Williams is going to be that bad. Now, I don't expect Kyren Williams to be as good as he was last year because that was an incredible season on many fronts, but he's going to be the workhorse running back in LA. It's still a good offense. He's got touchdown upside. He can catch passes. I don't understand why Kyren Williams is falling. In the second round, I thought he was a value. In the third round, absolutely stealing him. I'm going to have him all the time.
Well, as far as the first few running backs go, you really can't go wrong because these guys are being taken early for a reason. But I find myself at that 1-2 turn taking Jonathan Taylor. I feel just very comfortable with him as my RB1. Now, a lot of people don't agree with that necessarily. In fact, there was one very prominent fantasy analyst who just tweeted out today, and I'm talking somebody who has over 150,000 followers, all right, saying, why should I take Jonathan Taylor when about 30 picks later, I can get guys like Isaiah Pacheco, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, and they're all going to have similar workloads, but those 3 players are on a better offense. Okay, now whether you think Green Bay, Kansas City, Houston are going to be better offensively than Indianapolis, okay, I'm not going to argue against that, maybe, but let's talk about the one thing I have an issue with, the workload. I could not disagree more, which is why I'm taking JT early. Jonathan Taylor, just a couple years ago, led the league in carries with 332. And last year, it was all about the games missed. Remember, he was injured, missed several games, and when he came back and was healthy, he was an absolute workhorse. And even with Zach Moss having his best season, well, Zach Moss gave way to JT late, and Zach Moss is not there anymore, all right? He is gone to Cincinnati. Right now, the backup running back in Indianapolis apparently is Trey Sermon. You're going to tell me that they're going to give Trey Sermon significant carries to relieve Jonathan Taylor? I doubt it. Okay, JT is, if he stays healthy, which is a big question with every running back, so let's not compare injury history here, right? Not like Josh Jacobs has never been banged up. Jonathan Taylor's going to be one of the leading rushers in the league. He's going to be the goal line back, the pass catching back, the everything back. I think the Colts offense is going to be pretty good. I also don't think Joe Mixon or Josh Jacobs are going to be workhorse backs because I feel like they have competition for touches. I like Pacheco where he's going, but at the same time, don't tell me a Kansas City Chiefs running back will get as many carries as Jonathan Taylor this year. Look, I feel totally secure with Taylor as being a fantasy stud, so there's no problem with me taking him as my number 1 RB, and I'm doing it over and over. But speaking of Isaiah Pacheco, I think you like him about as much, maybe a little bit more.
I mean, I do like Jonathan Taylor more. I totally agree with everything you said about Jonathan Taylor. And I agree, I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is going to have as many touches or as many carries as Jonathan Taylor. But you're getting Isaiah Pacheco a couple rounds later, and I think he has just as much or very similar upside to some of those elite running backs. Again, I've talked about Isaiah Pacheco over and over this offseason, and maybe I am missing something here. Maybe there's just something I am not seeing. But to me, Isaiah Pacheco checking pretty much every box you want in a fantasy running back. Obviously in a great offense in Kansas City. He's the workhorse running back there, or at least as much as a workhorse can be in Kansas City, meaning other guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, not worried about them taking significant touches. He'll catch enough passes. No, he's not going to be, one of the leaders in pass catches for running backs, but he'll catch enough. He has touchdown upside, and we saw last year and the year before, he's efficient. He's good when given the opportunities. He's not an unknown like Tony Pollard was last year, where it's like, well, he's going to be a workhorse. Can he handle it? We know Pacheco can handle it. So he's another guy. I just can't believe I'm able to get him as late as I am. I mean, I say late, but typically it's like round 4, round 5 sometimes. I don't understand this at all. I think he should be going in that kind of second, third round range, but he's not. So again, Isaiah Pacheco, another running back, I just find myself drafting over and over again.
Well, in that same range, either is a very high-end RB2 for my fantasy team, or my RB1, I'm okay to wait and load up on a receiver early and take James Cook as my starting running back number 1, because I really think he's going to perform like one. Volume was the big question. Was he going to be used like a workhorse? Maybe not quite, but I think we could see it this year finally, because we started to see it towards the end of last year. In fact, just in the month of December, remember, mid-season there was a change in offensive coordinator here to Joe Brady, and that coincided with the running game becoming more of a focal point. In December, he averaged almost 18 carries a game. And he was really good when he got the ball more. In fact, the last 2 months of the season, he averaged close to 5 yards per carry. James Cook handled it, and in fact, he'll probably get more work this year because they didn't really do anything to add competition to the running back room. Ray Davis was just kind of a later pick, a depth pick, someone to replace Latavius Murray. In fact, I think Cook is going to get more of a workload this year. He's going to be used as a pass catcher. I still have questions about the Bills' receiver room. But look, James Cook will be a guy who's in a high-scoring offense. Yeah, sure, he might get vultured occasionally by Josh Allen at the goal line, which is frustrating, but he won't get vultured by Latavius Murray anymore, and he still is going to see a ton of not only rushing attempts, but receptions. He's going to have a super high floor, so I'm fine to take him where he's being drafted. I'm kind of surprised he's not being drafted earlier, considering he gets some of that Buffalo Bills hype behind him. All right, same division, maybe another running back that's being forgotten about.
Last year, Ramondre Stevenson was a guy I was like, I must draft Ramondre Stevenson in the 3rd round, and it didn't really work out. He started slow. He did start to pick it up mid-season, but then, of course, he got hurt, missed the end of the season, and we had to watch Zeke be a league winner, which is very frustrating. But I'm back on Ramondre Stevenson this year because now I can get him in like round 7 of my drafts. Ramondre Stevenson is still going to be the workhorse running back in New England, and I actually think the offense is going to be better this year because no more Mac Jones, no more Bailey Zappi. Yeah, we're getting Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett is nothing special, but we've seen Jacoby Brissett in Cleveland, in Washington, at least be competent. And if they switch to the rookie Drake May, I'm confident he's better than both Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. And don't talk to me about Antonio Gibson stealing touches. Last year, people were worried about Ezekiel Elliott stealing touches. Ezekiel Elliott barely touched the ball until Ramondre Stevenson got hurt, and they had nobody else. And then he was getting like 8 dump-offs for 5 yards or whatever it was and winning you your weeks because he would have, 8 catches and a touchdown in your PPR leagues. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'm not bitter or anything because Ramondre probably would have smashed. But anyways, going back to this year, I still love Ramondre this year. He's still a good player. He's a good pass catcher. And whether it's Brissett or the rookie Drake May, they're going to take plenty of opportunities to dump it off to Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's a workhorse running back in this Patriots offense. No, it's not going to be one of the best offenses. It's not going to be an exciting offense. He may not score double-digit touchdowns, but he doesn't need to because he'll make up for it in pass catching and volume and the fact that you're getting them at such a discount this year. Ramondre Stevenson, one of my favorite either RB1s if I go extreme zero RB, or one of my favorite RB2s if I go anchor RB and I'm just waiting on my RB2. A guy I am drafting over and over again.
All right, for my last pick here, let's go full circle. You started out talking about Kyron Williams, and you kind of made all the arguments for me already in favor of my player. And I'll just say this first. I'm not out on Kyron Williams because I understand if he does anything close to what he did last year, he's not only an RB1 for fantasy, but potentially carrying your fantasy team. But what if he gets hurt or Sean McVay continues to fall in love with his newest toy here at running back, Blake Corum? All I'm saying is that when you get to the later rounds, you're looking for upside at running back, a guy who is a high-end handcuff, a backup in maybe an explosive offense, somebody who's in an offense that tends to use their running backs as workhorse backs. You see what I'm getting at here? I don't think that there is a late round running back who has as much upside as Blake Corum. Doesn't hurt that I also had Corum as one of my favorite running back prospects before the draft, and a lot of people see the Rams as a terrible landing spot, and I think it's the opposite. I mean, this could be the perfect scenario for him, and I honestly don't go a day without seeing some sort of hype, not from, the Twitterverse or from, these random people, but from the Rams coaching staff about Blake Corum and from McVay specifically. So I'm not saying you should avoid Kyron Williams, but I'm saying that at some point you might want to have a share or two of Blake Corum because he could be this year's league winner, just like Kyron Williams was last year. Those are the running backs we just have to have every chance possible. With these players, it's not quite so simple. Do you have to have them or should you avoid them?